Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Today, a little bit different of an episode. Going to be talking about what you should be doing and not doing between now and the end of the year. And the first thing is we misunderstand how much time we have. We think we have like 5 weeks. That seems like a long time. It's like a third of a quarter. But guess what happens? We're just getting back from the Thanksgiving holiday, and we look at the calendar, and it's not even December yet, Brian. What's the hurry? Guess what? Take another look at the calendar. We've got Christmas that last week of the month in December, and everyone's going to say, oh, I'll be accessible. I'll be working from home. Nothing gets done. Little to nothing gets done. And most of you out there will have your proposals end that Friday, that last day of the working day of the year. And what's going to happen is it's most likely going to slip. So first of all, make sure your proposals, nothing expires that last week. And that hopefully anything that's out there has expired in 30 days. If you renew anything, keep that in mind. Work backwards from the last day that you want to work this year. It might be tomorrow, but you have to do it that way. Otherwise, what's going to happen is everything slips. The only people who have happier ears than salespeople are customers, end user buyers, people who don't understand the procurement process. They all think it's real easy, that somebody just checks a box. But there's all these approvals and consensus and legal steps and delays that will prevent this from happening. And I'm going to give you the best Q4 close ever. It's who knows what's going to happen. I always use this, and it always got people to move. Why should we do it now? We'll wait till next year. And I say, well, you never know what's going to happen. And then they go, well, what do you mean? Well, prices change, availability changes. The company will do this, it might do that. This happens in the industry, that happens. If you've got the time and the money, I'd say take care of it. Let's get it done now. It might go up in price. I don't know. I'm not in control of these things. This insecurity, this wonderment gets people to take action. And if you don't have a reason why it's in their best interest, not yours, they know it's in our best interest. We got to get the thing closed. Second is don't think that you can slip a deal purposefully into the next year. A lot of people say, well, I'm not going to make my number this year, so I'm going to push it into next year. This is not a good strategy. Let me explain why. A bird in the hand in sales is worth 10 in the bush, meaning that if you have an order in your hands that you're going to get paid on, that is gold. There is nothing better. I'd rather have that than something that's 10 times the size of it. That's going to happen next month, probably. Why? Because those deals tend to slip, tend to get smaller, tend to get passed on to someone else in your company. And this brings up my next favorite topic. Well, let's cover the do's first and the most positive things. In that, do you give gifts? Okay, I'd love to give gifts. Gifts are insanely effective, but giving them before everyone else does, meaning not the last week before Christmas or whatever holiday people are celebrating, what you want to do is give it early. And not just give it to the direct person, the influencer, the decision maker, whoever you think has the power, because that looks a little bit like a bribe. And that's the key distinction with a gift versus a bribe. And a bribe has a pejorative term to it. But it's just everything is a gift or a take. It's give or take, everything. And what we want to do is kind of keep it even, but prime the pump with us starting the process. Meaning when I give a gift, I'd give it to that person in charge's team. Why? Because it doesn't look like a bribe. It looks like an appreciation, a gift, what it should be. Whether it's a gift certificate to go out to a restaurant for 5 or 10 people, whatever you can get approved by the company, or whatever you're willing to spend out of your own pocket. But believe me, these things are appreciated. E-gifts aren't really that appreciated. I don't know why. A lot of people don't know how to deal with them or manage them, or gift cards. That looks a little too close to cash. Food people like, but ask first sometimes. Maybe call up the gatekeeper, somebody who's in charge of, or the administrative side, not in charge, and say, hey, I'd like to buy the team lunch. Is there a particular local place that I can call up and have it delivered in a particular day and time that works better than another time? Typically Friday's work goes over insanely well, whether it's pizza or Chinese, whatever it is, doesn't matter, as long as they like it. And almost everybody likes it. Sweets, most people like. Coffee, lots of people like, but that's kind of something that you'd bring in person. If you're going to visit customers, bring in a bunch of pizzas if they like that. When I sold to the government, they love donuts. I don't know why. And most of it's the gesture. It's the unselfishness of it. And if you happen to cook home cooked stuff, 10 times more valuable. Why? It shows effort. It shows consideration. And a lot of people, even if they don't like sweets, they can then give it to somebody else, re-gift it to either somebody else in the company or somebody in their family, and you get basically the same effect. Number 2, don't send text, email, happy holidays things. It's almost a negative thing because now they have to delete it or feel obligated to reply to it. The video ones, insanely powerful. Co-Video's got a bunch of templates that you can do for Christmas and happy holidays. And let's face it, you can make them super fast, easy. No one's going to judge you in it. It's 100% thoughtful and appreciated. And just spend a half hour doing it. Use their name, preferably, so they know it isn't just a carbon copy, generic one that you're sending to everybody. And, call out exactly what they have done for you and what you have done for them and what you want to do for them in the following year. And it's just a great way to keep the relationship going. And something that they're really going to pay attention to, because the curiosity of seeing that little play button and not knowing what you're saying. So don't say happy holidays in the subject. Put a curiosity, just a thought from my heart or a big thank you. Here's what working with you has meant to me this year, because a lot of customers change our lives. I've had commission checks that have changed my life. And, and if you get those checks, it typically means that you made a huge investment in them and they made a huge investment in you. And that kind of verbal commitment image altogether really has a phenomenal impact on them. So that's a big do. So timing, getting your deals done. Now let's get on to the managing expectations for the next year. Now you got to understand what your managers and their managers are doing, and everyone's doing planning for the next year. It's probably started shortly, probably 3 months before the end of the year. And even though it takes them forever to get us our comp plans in the new year, they've been thinking about it. They've had offsites, they had planning. And you want to talk about happy years. Very rarely does a company have conservative expectations for the following year, especially if you blew it out. Now let's take the great case of you blowing it out. You have to quickly position the following year, meaning that you empty the pipeline. There's nothing left. Pick out what territory you want. Don't be the victim of your managers carving up the pie next year. And also, you can't get emotionally attached to your territory and your customers and your pipeline, because every company cuts up the pie. It happens all the time. And if it doesn't happen on the pie side, it happens on the handicap of the quota side, or both. So we have to manage both sides of this. And you can say, well, that's sandbagging or that's misrepresentation. And I'm taking the point from now on. It's like there's a cause and effect. There's an action and a counteraction, a response from that action. Meaning if you do something, this is what's most likely going to happen. And you can argue with doing it or not doing it. But if you don't do it, what is going to happen is something else. If you don't set the expectations, what's going to happen is your manager's going to do it without your input. And guess what? It's not going to happen. They're going to do what's best for them, not what's best for you. And that we're blinded to see that. I preach this. It's the number one law of the maverick selling method. Everyone does what's in their best interest. So if you want to know what your manager's going to do about next year, guess what? Ask yourself what's in their best interest. And you want to know what the CEO is going to do? What's in their best interest? What's the board going to do? What's in their best interest? What are the shareholders going to do? And now you got to understand that you have to position what's in your best interest aligned with your managers. So you have to, if you've blown it away, you got to say, I emptied the pipeline. Next year's super skinny. You got to decide what accounts you want, what territory you want. Express this to your manager so that they take this into consideration. If you're a B player and you're like 80% of your number, you got to kind of, have a skinny pipeline next year. The fat parts of your pipeline should be in the areas that you're willing to give up. Now, you got to ask yourself, if I had to carve up my territory, how would I do it? What are the A's that I want to keep? And say, I want to keep it all. Of course you do. But most likely you're not going to. And they're probably going to do what they did last year. And you've probably heard some hints from your manager. Do you not like to travel? That means they're going to give you a local territory. Oh, you like to travel? Oh, you like to hunt versus farm? Oh, you like the big deals versus the small deals, or the small deals versus the big deals? Watch for these hints. They probably have happened in the last 2 months. Write them down. That's what your manager's thinking. You got to have not a formal sit down, but a casual sit down expressing what you want to do within the company, whether it's key accounts, particular geography, vertical, whatever it is that you want, express this, because otherwise they're going to do what's best for them. If you're a B plus A player, they're going to want to keep you happy. If you're a B minus C player, they don't care. They're going to stuff you with quota. They're going to try and work you out of the company. They're going to cut your territory to the point where it's going to be obvious that they can get rid of you. And if you're there and you want to build up, ask for coaching, ask for feedback, ask for ways of getting better. But again, whatever your pipeline is, because everyone wants it, 3X is kind of the industry standard, your quota times 3 in the pipeline. I say get it down to 1.5. Why? And that 1.5 should be in the territory that you're willing to give up, because that way you can make the case that what you're giving up has value versus what you're keeping and building. And if you don't do this, you're just going to get assigned a quota and a territory without your involvement, and you're going to be miserable. And then there's this other part. A lot of reps tell me, I'm not going to really, kill myself until I know what my comp plan is. Bad strategy. Why? Because you're probably not going to get your comp plan into halfway through the first quarter. I never got my comp plan the first month of the first quarter. Never. And I sold longer than most of you have been alive. And, some companies may do that. And that's great. But if they do, it's typically not in your favor, that they aren't open to negotiating it, aren't open to getting your feedback and your involvement. And if you're an A player, they probably will take that, and they probably will adjust it slightly, probably not going to get a major adjustment, but it is negotiable. It is. And I've always pushed back. I've negotiated my comp plan halfway through the year when it was done poorly. And it's not a great position to be in. And the people who sit around waiting for their comp plan are losing 10% of the year. Now, think how would you go on vacation for 10% of the year? No, but you sit around and mope and wonder about your career at the company, start looking for a job. If you want to look for a job in Q1 next year, start looking now, because it is a very easy time to get a job. This is probably the first quarter of the year is the biggest hiring because everyone gets their head count. You can tell, is your manager interviewing? Guess what? Most companies are growing. And if you're a B plus to A minus player, getting a new job in this economy is no problem. And if you think you're going to get hosed, definitely don't leave until you get a commission check. If you think you're going to get hosed on the territory and the comp plan, and you're not willing to stick it out, then this is the time to do it. This and Q2 and maybe Q3. So Q1, Q2, and Q3 are the hiring times. Nobody hires during the summer. Q4, everyone's heads down. They say they're hiring, but look at what your manager's doing. Your manager's running around with a head cut off because his comp plan is kind of tied to yours. And I did a episode on overassignment of quota. That's just a fact. And you can just do the math. How many reps are there? Their quotas are probably similar to yours, if not identical. Multiply that and ask yourself, is that the company's number? And you can tell what the company's number is. You take number of employees times average salary. And you can tell what the salaries are. And you can see the number of employees on LinkedIn. So if they're gaming it more than 20%, I'd be cautious. And this is the whole thing about comp plans is such a game. And if you don't want to play it, it doesn't matter. It's being played whether you participate or not. And if you don't have the right comp plan, it's hard to crush your number because the quota is too high. And I put a video on this on LinkedIn. And I put it up on YouTube as well, so you can see it, Brian Burns' sales podcast on YouTube. And I brought up some of the issues associated with it. And it's epidemic today that companies, especially in the high-tech space, are over-assigning up to 200%, meaning that the amount of quota that is assigned to reps is twice what the company's is. And the problem with that is that they're only spending and investing and anticipating getting half of that. That means for you to crush it, you're pretty much like doing 200% of what's really expected from a budget standpoint and a management standpoint. That puts reps in a difficult position. Now, does it matter to the A players and the Mavericks? Not at all. It didn't matter to me. I mean, I was in a company that did it 3x. 3x. They had 3 times the quota assigned. And I still made my number. No, I didn't crush it, but the on-target earnings was pretty high. I got a huge deal that, pretty much made my number. But most people suffered. A lot of people left. A lot of people were fired. So getting the comp plan right is also good for the company because if expectations are misset, everyone is upset. And there's this frustration that goes back and forth. So you have to manage it. And your manager is going to do it based off of brain dead math. This is another thing. The territories are never equal. Quotas seem to be pretty equal, but all the help that they give is never equal. So it's up to us as reps to negotiate that so it's is close to equal or better in our favor. And the people who just sit back and take what they're given are going to go in the downward spiral instead of the upward spiral. So to be naive about this or say I'm not playing that game or saying that that's not fair, sorry, it's being played. I didn't write the rules. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That is the game that's being played, whether you like it or not. The manager wants to think that every territory is equal, and in their little mind it's equal, but it isn't. So you have to get a territory that you think you can crush your number and a number that you think you can crush. And the way to do that is to set expectations about what's out there and where is it, and point them in the direction that's not where you think it is so that they can pass that quota on to somebody else and not you. And is it fair? Well, who knows? I'm not the definition of fair. I'm here to help you play the game better. So that's pretty much on the do's. What else do I've got a bunch of don'ts. Okay. Don't go dark at any time between now and the end of the year. You never know, that last week a deal may pop up. Even if you're traveling, even if you're on vacation, hey, if you're over quota, that's accelerator money. Just don't go dark. Keep your phone with you. And if you're crazy enough to take a vacation at the end of the year and you're in sales, I used to look at reps. They'd say, I'm going on vacation. The last week of the quarter, you're going on vacation? Why don't you just put a little number on your shirt that says 0? Because that's a bullseye for who's going to get canned. So do not go dark. Even if you're, with your family, I get it. Trust me. Unfortunately, I've spent way too many holiday weeks not seeing my family. And it's just this is the career we chose. And, no matter how well I managed it, some deals would slip into that dark zone. Some would pop out. Most didn't. But if it popped out and you're over your number, great. Because anything that slips into next year is going to get tacked onto your quota. And sometimes you're even better off giving a real deal to somebody else next year if they can take it off your quota. Why? Do the math. If you're the type of rep that can get into accelerators, that's the upside in sales. If they're just adding a deal to you, your multiple, your commission rate is going to go down. So essentially, you're going to do all the work and get paid nothing for it. Understanding basic compensation math, which is really just division and multiplication, is a necessity to be successful in sales. Ignoring it and just thinking it all work out in the wash doesn't. Okay. So don't ever push anything into next year. I kind of talked about that. No text emails. Don't call just to say happy holidays and then ask for something. If you're going to call, leave it at that. It's a great icebreaker. How was your Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is a non-religious holiday. At least in the U.S., it works out really well. I mean, everybody likes to talk about it. The family's issues, the travel issues, the weather issues. It's a great icebreaker. And it's a good time really early before people get into December to talk about what they're doing next year. To plant the seed, if they're not buying anything this year, to gauge, are they going to buy something next year? Where is it on the stack of priorities if you're not going to get it now? Really take an inventory of your territory and say, do it 80-20 and do it recursively. What are the 20% of the accounts, territory, companies that I'm going to get 80% of my number? Then out of that, what are the 20%? And if you keep really testing it and say, prioritize which ones would I be willing to give up and put it in a stack list, this analysis in your negotiations of your territory and your comp plan will help you out so much. It's an educated guess. I get it. And what you're better off thinking about is, are they going to buy in the scope of your comp plan, whether it be a 6-month or a 12-month comp plan? If it's outside of that, it doesn't exist. And honestly, for most reps who are working for a company, it doesn't exist. If you're an entrepreneur, it exists, but it's a deprioritization. The bird in the hand in sales is worth so much more. What else? Those are pretty much the don'ts. What are the don'ts? Company Christmas party, show up and leave. Do not get drunk in front of your coworkers. I know it's easy, it's free, it looks like a lot of fun, but understand it's really something that reflects poorly on you. You see a lot of young people do this, and it just leads very much into inappropriateness. The best thing you do for just show up and say, I've got another party to go to, and leave. Just go through the appetizers, the cocktails, and you think, somebody's going to care. No one cares. Nobody really cares. And that's it. That's all I had. Hey, I want to make sure you're checking out the other podcasts, Sales Questions, podcast. I answer any questions. Just send them to me either email, which is in the show notes, or through LinkedIn. You can connect or follow me there. I answer the questions as fast as I can. I do 5 a week, Monday through Friday. It drops at 7:30 a.m. In the morning. So you can look for it there. Search your podcast player, sales questions, then my name would probably come up easy. Also, make sure you're checking out Discover.org. Really, data and intent data is what you really need. Get these things to your manager so they get into the budget for next year. Discover.org's one of the more valuable and the more expensive products that have partnered with me, but incredibly valuable. Gong, get that. Getting feedback on your calls. If a rep goes to the manager and goes, I want feedback on my calls, and here's this automated way of doing it, the manager will be like, cool, I don't have to do anything. They love it. And to be able to grade yourself on every call. Too many people look at it as binary. I either get the deal or I don't get the deal. It's either a successful call or a failure call. And I heard this other manager say, I've never heard a rep have a bad call. And what you do have bad calls. Or the good calls, bad calls. How do you grade it? Define an A call, a B call, a C call, or a 10 call, a 9 call, an 8 call, whatever works in your brain the best, so that you can grade yourself and ask yourself the question, how good was it? Why? How could I have made it better? How could I have prepared better? And my whole history, my whole career, I never left a sales call saying I over-prepared, unless I really didn't have it scheduled. And because I didn't do the research on people. Today, the excuses are gone. Everything is on the internet. All the situational questions are kind of answered on the internet. And that rapport part of the call still needs to be there. I'm coming up with Conversations That Sell course, which is going to be based off of questions. It's coming into beta in the first week of December. It's going to be highly discounted for anybody who's part of any of the courses, the paid for courses, Start the Conversation or Closing the Complex Sale. And on the complex sale, how to close it, that course, if you buy it by the end of the year, you're going to get any additional new course, not existing course, new course next year is going to be included in it. So it's an incentive to buy between now and the end of the year, and any active person who's in that course will also have that capability. So it's going to be a great opportunity for you to buy that course. And I'm having this great idea. I think it's a great idea. Give me some feedback on it. Of coming up with a year to excellence. And the idea is it's going to be a 12-month thing. It's going to be everything you need to go from wherever you are to wherever you want to be in a year. It's going to be based off of habits, starting with, energy level, physical stuff, mindset stuff, skills, strategies, styles, all, 80% around sales, but 100% wrapped around whatever success means to you. And I'm kind of outlining it right now. I'd love your input. Let me know what you think. Is it something that you'd invest your time and a little bit of money into to really become that person that you want to be? And why a year? Everyone, you read books, you listen to podcasts. It's all good, but it's information. It's not action oriented. You hear this and you'll agree with some of the stuff I say, but you take it, it's entertaining, you listen to it. Oh, great point about comp plan and everything. But do you do anything with it? This is going to be, information, action, and a little bit of community about people. I'll try and get people to partner up to have an accountability person instead of everything being about me. It can be people that are in the same industry but don't compete, or people with the same place in their career and want to help each other. But it's going to be about habits. I'm going to take you through kind of everything that I've learned. It's going to be based off of the best people. Let me know what you think about that. Also, you're checking out Nudge. not just one of those products. So start thinking about next year, because what's going to happen is everyone's going to come back in January, and it's like kind of this musical chairs. Everyone's dizzy. No one knows what they're doing. It's the people who hit the ground running January 2nd, who knows what they want to do, know how to do it. Because, I've never got a comp plan or a territory change that came completely out of left field. If I look back at it, I always saw, your quota is going to go up, your territory is going to go down. But no one just takes you and says, oh, you live in Boston, you now cover Dallas that you never covered before. You might end up getting more. I doubt it in this economy. People are hiring like crazy. But the good part is there's not many people available. So being able to have a territory even temporarily is going to be a great thing. Hey, thanks for listening. Sorry if I rambled too much. We'll see you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. And I really would appreciate everybody who goes onto LinkedIn, connects up with me, or follows me there. If you happen to see some of my content flying by, if you could throw a little thumbs up or a comment or a share, I definitely appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the podcast. And make sure you're checking out my website, b2brevenue.com. You can get my free book on how companies make product selections. It's a real book. It is on Amazon, but I give it away for free. Just register there. It'll email you a link to it, and you can just download the PDF from there. Also, if you want to check out the courses, start the conversation, get the meeting, or closing the complex sale, and you have more questions about it, the short answer is there are video courses. You get access for a year, but it's also a community. What does that mean? You can ask questions anytime via voicemail or email. I answer them within a week, put them into the course. We have office hours every other week. It's an hour long course where you can I pick a topic, answer questions, you can ask questions. Also, you can schedule one-on-ones for free, and we just talk through your particular use case, and that gets shared with the course. So if you don't have time for office hours, or the timing doesn't work, or you just want some more one-on-one help, that's all included for a whole year. So it's really a year to go from where you are to where you want to be. And so it's not just videos. It's not just knowledge. It's practice. It's getting feedback. You can send me emails. You can send me your presentation. I'll help you with anything that you need to close the complex sale or get the meeting. And you can check out them at b2brevenue.com. So that's it. I really appreciate it. And please tell somebody about the podcast and let me know if I can help you in any way. Oh, and you want to hear some results from the course? Well, here you go.
I love the approach. It's working for me just fantastic. If I sent you some of the emails, which I should, the conversations that I'm having with people, I think you'd be blown away because they're not really about work. Yeah. I've figured out if you can kind of get personal with them, like one lady, it's all about her family, kids. And then I sprinkled in a little bit around work, and she's LinkedIn, sending me messages on LinkedIn, photos of her family. No, I'm not even kidding. I should show this to you. You'd be stunned. I was shocked. And we're going to lunch on September 6th. And yesterday she shot me a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, Ron, why don't we get on the phone and do a video call beforehand so our lunch isn't so awkward? We're like barely not meeting each other for the first time." Oh, holy cow, right? Like, this is unbelievable. So this is not the first time that this has happened. She's kind of an extreme, but I'm starting to figure out a pattern where I can actually make this a process, So
good. Yeah.
I'll show you that. So it's getting to that point. And every time I do this, I'm like, God, this is unbelievable, So.
And it feels better too, doesn't it?
Oh, Brian, let me tell you something. To be able to go to lunch with her, I'll even talk to her on the phone, right? We're going to talk about family, kids, work-life harmony, because I shared a thing with her from Bezos about work-life harmony. This is where the conversation will start. Now, at some point, we're both not stupid, right? We know we're going to talk about work. We know why we're both there. Right. But to kick it off this way is so much better. And to end that lunch with the last 5 to 8 minutes of telling, well, what are you guys doing with digital